Welcome back to the Olympic Ultras podcast. As per usual, I'm Nate,
Hi, I'm Michael.
and we have three games to review today and one game to preview today. So let's get straight into it. First game we'll be talking about is the women's FQPL1 game against Grange Thistle. That was last Saturday. That was Olympic 1, Grange Thistle nil.
Yes, and the way the game went, it could have gone either way.
It really could have. It was a knife edge all the way through.
Certainly was.
And it was very, very tight up until Rio scored the first goal. Um,
Real.
Rio, albeit with some extent of luck, straight from the corner, and I believe the keeper mishandled it, and it's end up in the back of the net. Um, but up until that, yeah, it was very, very touch and go, and even after that, it was very touch and go both sides.
Yeah, Grange come out with a plan,
Yeah,
and I think they executed that plan rather well
yeah,
because they stifled our way of play, they stifled our attack, they stifled any forward movement.
yeah.
Um, I mean, hats off to them. But I
Oh,
tell you what,
definitely.
our girls were resolute. They just hung in there, and they done a great job.
Yeah. And after the match, Tom, the assistant, came over to us and went, well, when you can win games when you're playing like that.
Yeah, it was a fairly true comment, though. I
Yeah, it
mean,
really was because it
I don't think
easily
Cam
the
and the
worst game
boys,
of our season this season.
yeah, I
But
don't think Cam and the boys had a really good time with that one.
no, it was yeah, it was very stressful all the way through. And yeah, easily the worst game we've played this season. That being said, we've played some fantastic games this season, so
Oh, phew, crazy games.
yeah, exactly right. So you're gonna have, of course, you're gonna have a couple of bad games here and there. It's a long season. It's probably good that we can get one of them out of the way very early and
Yeah,
sort of shake it off.
yeah. And as you and I have discussed before, even the best in the world have bad days.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
So, you know, it happens. The girls rallied, move on,
Yeah. And
come over.
as we discussed in the preview to that game, Grange Thistle hadn't played many games, so they were very much chomping at the bit. They really wanted, something out of this match, and they
Yeah,
really showed it.
they did. They did. They wanted to play some football.
Yeah.
They really wanted to play some football, and if if that's what they do, hey, they're in for a good season.
Yeah, exactly right. And considering, the Olympic women's have to be considered as one of the best, if not the strongest team in the FQPL one, to
Oh
come out
no,
and to control and to really stifle our creativity and what we were trying to do, they did very well. And I think, they'll take quite a bit of energy and quite a bit of motivation and forward from that. And hopefully Grange goes on and has a decent season from that.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
As long as they have one more bad game, and that's against us in the reverse fixture, they can have a
Yeah,
fantastic
no problem
season
there.
as
Yeah, done and dusted.
yeah, exactly
Book it
right.
in, mate.
But yeah, so that was a fairly strong 11 we had that really just for whatever reason didn't quite click together. Um, but thankfully, again, in the words of Tom, when you can win while you're playing like shit, you're doing all right. So.
That's it.
And this one actually
Um,
had a funny. It feels so long ago now, since we're recording it. But this one actually had a funny individual story from you and I because we weren't meant to see this game. We
yeah,
drove all the way to the Gold Coast to
yeah,
see the men's game, only for that to be cancelled. So we drove all the way back,
yeah,
and we thought,
yeah.
oh, we have a bit of time. Let's duck into St. George Willawong and Lions to watch 10, 20, 30 minutes of that before we duck off to the women's. There was no parking.
No,
On our third attempt to watch a football game that day.
I think let's go with some bloody coronary.
Yeah, exactly right. It felt very it felt in theme of the evening that you and I were having, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Um,
Certainly was.
but yeah, so that
But
was a little
at the
bit.
end of the day, we saw a good game of football. We saw the girls come out on top.
Yeah, all
It
more to
was
go
it
for.
was worth the effort. It was
Yeah.
worth the
Oh
effort.
yeah.
It really was. And to see the girls is such a privilege too.
It really is. It really is. It's a fantastic team, fantastic bunch of girls. Cam, Tom, all of the backroom staff, are lovely people.
Yeah, they certainly are.
Which leads us into the final Kappa Pro Series game against Ipswich Knights. Um, which to pull back the curtain a little bit, obviously we had technical difficulties trying to get this episode out. I actually raced home after the Ipswich Knights game. Went, yep, Dad, like, come on, we're gonna get this podcast going.
Yep, yep.
Only for the internet to just not play ball.
It did not want to cooperate with us one bit.
No. So apologies for the late episode, but here we are. Anyway, Ipswich Knights. Interesting game. Very, very interesting game. So Ipswich Knights won Olympic 6. Um, Almost as per usual, unfortunately. A very easy goal very early on.
Oh, the space they created on that right hand side, and that young lass just she
Mhm.
just and I'm sitting there in my motel room going, WTF?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What just happened then?
Yeah, and you know, it's not being, being putting ourselves on a high pedestal to say that, we are one of the strongest teams that are in the FQPL1 and in the Kappa Pro Series at the moment. So we're obviously experiencing this a lot now where teams will come out and try to catch us
Of course I
very
will.
early on, very quickly. We noticed with Morton City, the first time we played them, they tried to do their normal game. And then the second time we played them, they tried to press us really hard, really early and managed to
Yeah,
snatch a
they jumped it
goal.
up.
They then, I think, tried to keep going at us. And we eventually ran their legs out and ran out, I
Yeah,
think, 4-1 winners that time. I think in this one, apart from maybe that right winger, Ipswich Knights snuck that first goal and then tried to hold it.
yeah, they did. It was almost like a park the bus effort.
Yeah.
But
And
their moments of attack were very few and far between after that.
yeah. And when you're playing a team like, Ipswich Knights to Olympic, like that sort of level of difference, all well and good going one up, but then you've got to try to hold that one up for 85 or so minutes
Yeah, and try and snatch a second.
and try to snatch a second or just try
Yeah.
to, make sure that you can get that out of the way. So although, that early, unfortunately easy goal is starting to become a thing that happens in our game, and that will get better, especially if the more and more we learn how to play out from the back and things like that. And if we can come up with a couple of plan A's, plan B's, plan C's, plan D's when we're getting pressed,
Mm,
that situation will hopefully end and, we won't so much concede that really easy early goal.
mm.
Um, However, especially with a much changed 11, the girls just went business as usual. And
It was
it
quite
wasn't.
amazing to watch.
Yeah, it really was, and it wasn't long until it was Lainey Sunderland who finally broke the net for them from a corner. Funnily
Yeah,
enough,
yeah. We
uh,
are pretty good at the set pieces, actually,
yeah, yeah, we are definitely very good at the set
and
pieces.
we're getting better. We're getting better from set pieces.
I was a little bit worried in the fact that we didn't have our main set pieces
Mm.
specialists on the pitch, so there was no Rio taking corners. There was no Kiz, there was no Loz, there was no Vic willing to try to
We'll
find
just
the
we'll
space.
just go away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we managed to get it done. And then some of the goals that we scored
Oh,
leading on from that,
I
absolute beauties.
wow. Yeah, and long range efforts, probably edge of the box.
Yeah,
The way they hit the ball, the way they judged the shot, the judged the flight. It was over the keeper every time. It was just a
yeah,
joy to watch.
Yeah.
It really was.
And it was another one, speaking back to the Morton City game, it was another one of those times where the goalkeeper did really well.
Yeah,
The Ipswich Knights keeper actually did really well, pulled up some
yeah,
fantastic saves, was very brave in a lot of the breakaways and things like that. The defense
mm,
maybe just didn't help her
yeah,
as
yeah,
much as they could
yeah.
have.
The midfield and back line let her down.
Yeah. But yeah, goals for Laney Sunderland and Cleo finally getting us on top. So we get into halftime at 2-1 up. A goal for Maddie Rotano, which is absolutely fantastic. She's
Yeah,
first, I
brilliant.
believe her first start back from injury. So it's
Yeah,
absolutely
brilliant.
fantastic that she scored. And it was a hell of a goal too.
It wasn't it?
Sarah Daly tried to keep her out from the goal scorers. Telly, goal on debut.
I know, so good.
Absolute baller, just a hell of a goal.
Yeah,
Cutting in from the right on the, shooting on the left, curling it around, and just absolutely fantastic.
yeah. It's like she's been doing it her whole life.
Yeah,
It was just looked that easy.
yeah, it really did. And if you've missed any of the announcements, Telly is, I believe, a Tongan international.
I believe so. Yes.
Apologies if we've got that wrong. You can tell us in the comments. But you can tell that she's, a class above. You can definitely tell why she's managed to get into an international team as well.
Sure.
And she was fantastic. Just
Yeah.
her runs, her movements, the way that she would turn defenders inside out was fantastic.
Mm. And that caliber of player, people feed off that caliber of player.
Yeah.
So you think, oh my God. And you start to do things that you would normally do.
Yeah. It
And they
lifts
start to
everyone.
come off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the team is just supercharged.
Yeah.
But that's how you get that little bit special player. That's how it works.
Yeah. Exactly.
It just rises another 10 or 20%.
Yeah. Um,
So good luck the rest of you. I mean, Olympics
yeah.
on its way.
We had a fantastic squad, and then we just added a couple more out of absolutely nowhere. And we've talked a couple of times about the depth of our team. Lainey Sunderland, who generally plays as our holding midfielder, played as a centre back
Yeah.
in Wednesday night's game, and she was fantastic. Still no Georgia. She's out on holidays. No Tess. We mentioned earlier, no Rio, no Vic, no Loz,
Yeah.
no Kiz. Pick a
And,
hole.
and as you said earlier, yeah, the future of football, women's football Olympic is shining bright.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the caliber of player that we are developing to come into a first team squad to play a cup match. Wow.
yeah. Exactly right.
Wow.
Exa yeah, exactly. So, and not to mention, we were all pretty confident that we were going to get back into the NPL straight away at the first time of asking.
Yep.
Um, I feel like that attitude's very well deserved at this point.
Yeah. And so early the season. I'm
Yeah,
not really confident that early in the season, but wow.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure Cam's trying to keep the girls' heads level and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
But
you will.
we're fans. We're allowed to get carried away.
Of course we are. Of course we are. It's our job.
Yeah, exactly. It's our job to get carried away. It's our job to feed that energy back into the club. So, you heard it here first. We're going to win the league.
That's it. Oh dear.
Yeah. But I did manage to see, I think I told you on the night, I did manage to see Cam before the game, and he had one piece of advice to you specifically, and that was to sort your
Oh,
priorities
did he now? Oh, really? Oh, Cam, we're having a chat next time we meet.
But no, the girls were a little bit upset to not see you there, but they were also very happy to see that the ultras were still there and supporting in some way, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
We'll do our utmost to get to as many games as humanly possible.
Yeah, unfortunately, life gets in the way sometimes, but we
It
will
does.
we will be there as much as possible.
Yeah, you bet.
Alrighty. So that puts us on to the next stage of the Kappa Pro Series for the women's. As of right now, that hasn't been drawn yet, whether who are playing in the next stage. But that's all three games played in our group, and that puts Olympic on top, 9 points, 3 wins out of three, 19 for three against, so a goal difference of 16. Fantastic record.
Incredible, incredible.
Absolutely fantastic record from 3 games.
Yeah,
Um,
I do
Mons,
believe the next series is the knockout series. We
I
step into
believe
knockout
so.
next.
I think it's 5 groups. Yeah, there's 5 groups in this. So the top 5 will go through, like the first place of each group. And then I believe
Yep,
it's
yep.
the net best three, like second place teams, the 3 best second place
Right.
teams. But yeah, it hasn't quite been drawn yet as of recording this. I'm sure it will.
Mm.
And, we will see what the result
Yeah,
is
can't be too far
during
off.
the playing.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, Mon City end up finishing second in our group with 2 wins. So and a goal difference of 1, 7-4-6 again. So we just blew this one away.
We did, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So
incredible.
congratulations to Cam and the girls, and definitely well
Yeah,
deserved
right,
to
yeah,
progress to the next stage.
yeah. Take my hat off to you all.
And actually, while we're talking stats, there, I believe we're still on top of the ladder. We are
Where we just
where we deserve to be, on top of the ladder.
yeah.
3 wins from 3 games.
And anybody question that?
No, 6-4, one against. So yeah, very, very happy.
Yeah, they're doing great.
They're doing
So
fantastic.
proud. So
Yeah, incredible. Alrighty. So we'll move on to the third game that we have to review, which is a men's game, which was in the Kappa Pro Series, Caboolture 1, Olympic 2. Yeah,
what a game.
that's a word. That's one way to say it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this on the way back from the game. I don't think we played a fairly full strength 11, bar a couple of players here and there, and a very under 23s heavy substitute bench.
Yep.
I don't think this was the game that we were expecting to turn up to, whether it was a little bit of naivety from our side of things, a little bit of ignorance. Um, but we just didn't seem to be ready for what Caboolture was about to
Mm.
hand off to us.
Yeah, we just didn't click from a kickoff. We just didn't click. I don't know if the heads were somewhere else or it was just one of those nights where, again, things don't go for you.
Yeah. Um, like the women, a very easy, unfortunately, early
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
Bit of a mix up at the back. Lou goes off his line. Their striker happened to capitalize. Very opportunistic. Well
Yeah.
worked, in fairness. Um,
Mm.
quick chip over. I think it was maybe the second minute. So suddenly, it was kickoff. We're playing a full strength. You're sitting there going, "Yeah, sweet, we've got this. We're going to do this well." Caboolture was on our tails every single time.
Yeah.
We didn't have a second to look up and try to pick that pass. Suddenly, you're 1-0 down.
Yeah. And they continued that all
Yeah,
game.
yeah. They
They
didn't
were,
sit back. They didn't try to hold it.
we received the ball and there was someone on us.
Yeah, and
You know,
we were being beaten to the first ball. If we got the first ball, we were being beaten to the second one, and that's
yeah.
pretty much as far as we got. We couldn't string 2 to 3 passes together. It was
Mm.
an incredibly nervy match against a very spirited Caboolture, it has to be said.
Oh, extremely spirited. Yeah. I don't know how they're going in their own competition, but gee, they raised themselves for this one.
Yeah, I know in the Kappa Pro Series, they did beat Morton City 1-0.
Yeah. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it?
It does say a lot. And they went 2-1 down against Gold Coast United as well. So, I'll actually have a quick look while we're live, um, how they're doing in the FQPL1, because yeah, it seems like they've definitely got a squad in which they can push
Yeah.
some of the bigger boys.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of interesting to note because I do note that they lost a lot of big names over
Okay.
over the season break. Louis Greenwood, of course, came on
Yeah.
board to us. Alistair Russell actually went to Morn City. Wow, we are catching my shock absolutely live. They are last
You're kidding me. In FQPL1.
in FQPL1. 4 games played, 3 losses, 1 draw.
That's incredible. On that performance, you would not.
No,
There's no way you said that.
no.
Maybe
That's
the other
amazing.
night was the turnaround.
So you gotta, yeah,
Mate,
you gotta
football's a
wonder what
funny
the
game,
coach
isn't
said to him. Play for
it?
pride, I
Football's a funny
guess.
game. You just don't understand. Anyone who says they can work sport out is a liar.
Yeah,
You can't.
100%. Yeah, they're trying to sell you something, or they're a liar because
You know.
from beating Morton City to pushing Gold Coast United as well and us all the way, and then checking their result in the FQPL one and their last from 4 games.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, it's
Um,
funny. You hear commentators in Europe saying a team is a good cup team,
in one
but not a
cup, but
good
not
league
another,
team.
and I never understood
It,
that as a child.
Mate, I've known it doesn't make sense to me either, but you hear it a lot.
Yeah, and you hear about like cup form and the league form, and they've been
Yeah,
terrible in the league, but their cup form's incredible. It's like
yeah,
how can they just turn it
that's
on
right.
this competition?
And so they just a good side 1 week every 4 weeks.
Yeah. Um. Wow, that's really put me off everything I was planning on saying. That's incredible. And look, maybe that's what contributed to our ignorance and our naivety. We sort of again we turned up thinking that this might be a game. Oh yeah, they surprised Mon City, sure, but like look at their league stats.
Yeah,
Maybe we just turned up thinking that it was done and dusted.
yeah. But in credit to the boys too, when we did go down, I think the shockwaves went right through the squad,
Yeah,
and you can see it. Our attitude changed,
yeah,
and we were better in tackles. We were better in transition. We were better in the passing. Especially we done well up to half time,
mm,
and then we just improved again for the second half.
yeah,
I mean, I think we ran over them in the second half.
yeah. That second half was a lot better. I'm not sure what Grozzy said to them at halftime. Honestly, I don't want to know what Grozzy
Oh
said to
no,
them
no,
at
it's probably
halftime.
too exciting than that.
And especially the under 23s, who came on really flipped the game. In my opinion, Ali Ahmed came on and absolutely changed the game.
Wow,
His runs down
wow.
that left wing. Um, I think he teed up. I'm not sure if he technically gets credit with the assist or if it went through another player for that first goal, but absolutely incredible run. Just gave their defenders something new to think about.
Correct, absolutely. Yeah. Now the boys
Uh,
played well.
yeah,
Really
they
proud of them
did.
in the second half.
And I think it was Matt Sato, who was one of the academy boys, scored the winner on the 90th minute. Or was it Harry Orford who got credited with it? Anyway, it was a couple
I
of the
think Harry
youngsters.
Orford got credit with it. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, a couple of the youngsters. Jaden Hansen came on as well. So, really showed great character, great depth and squad because
yep,
they did.
yep.
They came on and they changed the game.
I did. Yeah.
And that final
I was
goal,
really proud to see Matty Reid start.
yeah, Matty Reid started as well, which was fantastic because I
That
believe
was
he
great.
did not too
I
long
was
ago.
really pleased to see that. Yeah,
We
he's
saw
such a
him.
talent.
He is such a talent and such a young talent, and he sort of really rose last season when we were a little bit light due to injuries in that position.
Mm.
He was incredible. He looked like he'd been
Oh,
playing in the senior team for years and years.
yeah. And he comes on, he gives 100%.
He does. He
He
does. He doesn't know how not
his
to.
work rate. Yeah, his work rate's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, really good to see him start the other night.
Yeah. 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 No, it was good. Um, But again, yeah, Harry Orford, Matt Sato, Jaden Hansen, Ali Ahmed coming on and just absolutely changing the game. Even
Yeah.
Tommy Larkham, who has also been in and around the first team as well, coming on
Yeah.
and changing the game as well.
Yeah. Tommy's such a great talent.
He is.
I mean, his performance last season was just crazy. It was just so good.
Yeah.
I think there's a player that will go places.
Oh,
I really do
definitely.
believe that. I think if he continues to play like that and continues to hone his talents, he'll go places.
Yeah. And um, he's one of those players, and we talk about this often. He's one of those players who is not afraid to make that dodgy challenge. He's not afraid to
No,
take one for the
no.
team.
He's a hard physical player, but he's a fair physical
He's a
player.
fair physical player, and if he needs to,
Yeah,
yeah, he will copy yellow, and I believe he did copy
He
yellow
did copy yellow the other night.
game,
Yeah,
and he needed to because they were breaking. So,
yeah,
and that's one of the things I really like about him. Even though a lot of players are a little bit afraid to get a yellow card or rack those up and get a suspension, he knows that it's for the benefit of the team, and
yeah,
he will do what needs to be done. And it's not
100%.
you see that often anymore.
Mm, yeah, no, good kid, good kid.
Good kid. And finally, the last thing we need to talk about before our next podcast is the Wynnum Wolves game has been rescheduled to Wednesday, the 23rd, at Goodwood Park.
Boo.
Yes, unfortunately, this is another game you're going to miss out on. So I have a feeling you're going to cop a very similar shot from Grozzy that Cam
Yeah,
threw
well, I'll have worked with Crosby as well. Don't you worry.
at you. Um, so that's a game that is interesting. It's one of those games that we pinpointed from last season because of what happened in the first game last season, the infamous 4-3. Um,
Yeah,
but that
does
being
not compute. Does not compute.
yeah, file not found. But that being said, Wynnum Wolves hasn't exactly been Wynnum Wolves so far this season.
No, I think they surprised a lot last year.
Hmm.
I think they finished around mid-table, if
Yeah,
memory
yeah,
serves.
or maybe just outside that top four. I can't remember.
Again, a lot of clubs they'll have that initial promotion, bang, bang, bang. Everyone's going, whoa, what happened here?
Hmm.
Second season,
Yeah, because so far in the NPL, they've lost to Gold Coast United, they've lost to Gold Coast Knights. Neither of them are particularly surprising. They're two very good
right,
teams.
very
But
much so.
then they drew 2-2 against St. George Willawong, and in that game, St. George were 2-0 up.
Yeah, yeah.
So a bit
So
of a
I didn't get to
shock
see that
result.
game, so I wasn't too sure if it was fantastic pressure from Wolves or St George fell asleep. So I
Um,
didn't get to see it. So I'm not too sure.
well, on top of that, in the Kappa Pro Series, the game that just went, Wolves drew 1-1 with St. George again.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and in the Kappa Pro Series, they only actually won one game, which was against Redlands. They drew against Southwest Queensland Thunder, lost to Brisbane Strikers and Lions. So across both competitions, they
Mm,
haven't been doing as well as definitely would have been thought of,
yeah, yeah,
especially coming off
exactly.
last season. I believe from what I saw, they only strengthened their team. I don't think they lost too many big names, but on top of that, they
Hmm.
gained a massive name in Jez Lofthouse.
That's right. So, but again, one massive name doesn't make a squad.
No,
All of a
exactly
sudden,
right.
are they in a situation where we go, we're cool now, we've got Jez,
Yeah,
and we're going to rely wholly and solely on his performance as a pickup midfield and distributor?
yeah,
No, it takes more than
yeah, exactly
that,
right. And
One man doesn't make a team.
yeah, and looking further into the game against St. George Willawong, it was actually a Luka Yankovic 90th minute equalizer.
Wow.
Luka Yankovic, obviously an ex-Olympic player that has
Yep.
since gone to St. George Willawong, and we wish him the best of luck. Um, and yeah, even then in the Queensland Cup, they only played Maroochydore, but they only won 2-0.
Yeah.
And looking at their lineup, they seem to play a fairly full strength lineup. So a little bit of surprise of how they're performing,
Very much so.
especially from my point of view. That was one of the teams that we sort of earmarked to be, a team that we needed to beat if we were going to
Correct.
improve this season.
Absolutely correct. Yep.
So to see them so below on it is it's a little surprising.
Yeah, and a bit of a plus.
Yeah, and a bit of a plus for us.
Yeah.
Of
It
course.
almost seems the season has already split in two.
Yeah, yeah,
You've got
there's that
Knights,
top half of the
United,
bottom.
One City, Peninsula, and us.
Yeah,
And then there seems to be that performance gap from East, St George, Wolves. It
yeah, yeah,
seems to
exactly.
drop off. Yeah.
Well, because of all the postponements and everything like that, we've actually slipped to sixth now, with 6 points from 3 wins. But teams above us, such as Lions, Penn Power, Gold Coast United, and even Moreton City, have all played more games than us.
Yeah.
Um, so Lions having actually played 5 games, so they've played two more than us, and they're only 1 point above us. So
Yeah, and that augurs well for us because if we can get onto a good winning run, a good winning streak, all of a sudden that pushes Lions back down the table because we've got
yeah,
2 games in hand.
yeah, exactly right. And if we win against Wolves, we go as high as third again.
Yeah,
A
perfect.
goal difference. So
Yeah,
this is going into the Easter break as well,
yeah,
and hopefully a little bit more of consistent games coming up on the other
yeah.
side of
Oh,
Easter,
please,
please.
Mother Nature, do us a favour.
Hopefully that's something that we can sort of get that ball rolling, and again
Yeah,
going
yeah,
into that break and just going, oh, look at us go now. Like we might be able to get a little bit
yeah,
under our skin and a little bit of
yeah.
momentum moving.
And let's face it, we're missing some players on the night as well. So we've got players like Leka coming back in, Fumi's coming back in,
I think Simkin had the
Hiroshi
night off
played.
as well.
Yeah, you've got Will Avers who's can come back on the bench.
Yep.
Um, so we've got a lot of players still to come through.
Yep.
So hopefully, we're
Yeah.
back
Fingers
to a full
crossed.
strength squad come next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right. And it'll be good to see Jez Lofthouse, an old Olympic boy, back at Goodwin Park. Unfortunately, wearing
Yeah.
the wrong color, but
Hey,
that's football.
that's football. Yeah.
Yep.
He had his chance to stay big, but he left.
Yeah. Exactly right. Anyway, just to reiterate, that is on the 23rd. I've lost my tab that I had it on now.
23rd of April
Yeah, I
at
believe
Goodwin
it's
Park.
23rd of April at Goodwin Park. Yeah,
I
at 7
would
p.m.
say probably 7 p.m. kickoff.
7 p.m.
Yeah.
kickoff. So another Wednesday night game. Obviously that is after the Easter break, so that's next Wednesday. But yeah, so that should be an absolute cracker of a game.
Yes, I wish I was there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
Unfortunately, my job dictates that, and I'll be away.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, unfortunate, but priorities.
so if anyone out there's got a job for me, or I can work Monday to Friday, my number is.
Yeah, just send us a DM to the Olympic Ultras Instagram.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah, and I'll follow it up. Yeah,
Alrighty, so we'll call it there. So this is obviously going to come out on Easter Friday. So happy Easter to everyone. Happy Orthodox
yeah.
Easter as well. They are on the exact same day this year, which is very, very interesting, very cool because it doesn't often happen on the exact same day. So they are on the exact
It's
same day
not.
on the Sunday this year.
And if you're traveling, you're going for away for see some friends and families. Please be safe.
Please be safe.
The
Please travel
roads can be quite
safely.
horrendous out there with traffic, so please look after yourselves.
Yep, yep. And we will see you post Easter, either Wednesday or the following game weekends.
Sure will. Take care of yourselves.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Right, bye for now.